Bonjour. Hello, everybody. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this in English because my French is not very good. It's been too long since I've had French in school. So hope you bear with me. I'm very excited to talk about our cloud-native portfolio here at Nutanix, our open and complete cloud-native platform. As Thomas said, I'm the GM, General Manager for Cloud Native here at Nutanix, and I joined the company a year ago along with my team from Day2IQ. So we've been building cloud native platforms primarily for large enterprises for more than a decade. And all of that experience building platforms for that long influenced the design of NKP. NKP is based on the technology that we developed at Day2IQ. It's been in the market for more than 5 years. So it's a very new, while it's a very new platform from Nutanix, it's a very mature offering that's been in the market and is production proven. Now, I want to start with just some context on Kubernetes. I know some of you are using Kubernetes, some of you are maybe newer to it. So just want to share some data on where Kubernetes is at. Some trends. So this is from a survey from the New Stack. That's a publication that covers Kubernetes and other cloud-native technologies. And they found that 92% of the participants in the survey agreed that developers should not manage infrastructure, Kubernetes infrastructure. But at the same time, 1 in 3 said their developers are managing their own clusters. So I think that's a very important, very interesting point, because in a lot of places that I see, Kubernetes is being managed by developers. But almost everybody agrees that's a bad idea. And when we designed NKP, the Nutanix Kubernetes platform, we actually designed it with platform engineering teams in mind, with central teams that manage the infrastructure and provide it as a service to developers. So that's an important takeaway here. This is a product for infrastructure teams. Next, 86% of those using both VMs and containers want a single platform to manage containers and VMs. So I was very excited to join Nutanix because what we can do here is we can give you that single platform that does both. More than half of all containers now require state, and they require persistent storage. Another reason why I was excited to join Nutanix. At my startup, we had nothing for storage. Actually, my team got involved in storage early on. We designed the CSI, the container storage interface, that is now the industry standard for adding storage to containers. But we didn't have our own storage solution. And so combining what we built at Day2IQ with the very mature, resilient, scale-out storage capabilities of Nutanix is a fantastic win for customers, a real 1 + 1 = 3. 69% said they're running Kubernetes in multiple clouds or other environments, so hybrid cloud or multi-cloud. And I often run into organizations that have multiple different teams responsible for Kubernetes on different infrastructures. So they might have a Kubernetes cloud team and then a Kubernetes on-prem team, so duplicating a lot of work. But we designed NKP to be a single platform to manage your entire fleet of infrastructure, no matter where those clusters are running. And then last not least, and I think this number probably has changed a little bit. The survey is from early 24, late 2023. 49% said they're actively piloting or using Kubernetes at the edge, and the key driver being AI workloads. Obviously, AI has really exploded in the last few years, so I think if we ask the question again today, that number is much, much bigger. But Kubernetes has very quickly become the platform of choice for AI workload. It's naturally a great fit for that, but also because the most innovative companies in the world around AI have adopted Kubernetes, right? NVIDIA has added really strong GPU support to Kubernetes, and companies like OpenAI are using Kubernetes to run their infrastructure. So we made sure that NKP is also a great platform for running AI workloads. All right, We're going to start at a pretty high level about our cloud native portfolio and then kind of dive deep into what NKP is. So, as Thomas was talking about already, NKP really delivers a consistent operating model for Kubernetes on any infrastructure. Consistent operating model means you get access to open source innovation coming out of the CNCF ecosystem. CNCF being the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, the open source foundation behind Kubernetes and many other technologies. So NKP is built on many technologies from the open source ecosystem, the CNCF ecosystem, and we'll learn what those are in a little bit. And by building on top of open source, we make sure that you have the same stack of Kubernetes no matter where you're running. NKP is a comprehensive platform. It has everything you need to go to production with Kubernetes, no matter what the underlying infrastructure is. And you might be wondering, well, if it has all this open source, what's really unique about NKP? What's different? And at a high level, a lot of what's unique, what's kind of our secret sauce, is the automation we built in Kubernetes. So automation around all these open source technologies, and AI-driven operations. Many organizations that I talk to tell me, we're still just learning Kubernetes. There's still a knowledge gap around Kubernetes. We have to teach our team how to do it. And so we're actually leveraging AI in NKP to help you cross that skills gap, to help your teams become more fluent in Kubernetes and become experts and follow best practices. So that's what constitutes the consistent operating model. Now, I talked about how more than half of all containers need storage. And so combining NKP with our deep set of data services that Nutanix offers really, I think, checks another box in terms of all the infrastructure support services that you need to run containerized applications in production. Cloud native AOS, right? AOS running in containers, which really gives you the power of AOS in support of any Kubernetes. Works with EKS and soon NKP as well. Snapshots, cloning, Metro, disaster recovery, all those advanced data capabilities. Those are the things that are really hard about running Kubernetes applications, and we make them easy. And by using that set of data services that is portable, that runs on any cloud, again, you get consistency. You get that same operating model, not just for Kubernetes, but also for your data services on any cloud. So those are the infrastructure data services, right, in support of containers. But your containerized applications also depend on databases and other data services, right, message queues, and then, of course, increasingly AI endpoints as well. I believe in just a few years, most business applications that are getting built will have AI built in. And so you really have to also think about, how do I manage my container dependencies in terms of databases and AI workloads? And with NDB and NAI now, we can check that box as well, right? So comprehensive set of infrastructure data services, as well as these platform data services, databases and AI inference endpoints, really give you all the dependencies that you need to build modern applications. All right, so now I want to go a level deeper and talk about how we built NKP and what makes it special. So what does it take to build a cloud-native platform? You might be thinking, well, I want to do containers. I heard a lot about this Kubernetes thing. I just need Kubernetes, right? Wrong. Kubernetes is the most important technology for containers, and it's the central platform, but it's not a complete solution. Kubernetes doesn't cover any of the things you see around the circle here. It doesn't do security. It doesn't do observability. It doesn't have networking built in. It doesn't do policy management. And the list goes on. But to build a production-grade platform, you need all these things. You need a comprehensive solution. And so what we did in NKP is we start with Kubernetes, but we added other open source projects from the CNCF ecosystem to complete that circle. We looked at the cloud-native landscape, which has now over 1,000 open source projects, And for each of the categories here, we picked the best technologies in every single one of these categories. The best technologies for observability, for networking, for AI, ML, and so forth. We took all these pieces, and these are independent open source projects, right? They're not the same software. They're done, managed by different people. So they don't always work together that easily. But what we've done is we've done all the hard work that goes into assembling all these open source pieces into a single solution that is easy to use, that is enterprise grade, that is fully supported. And so that way we really simplify your cloud native operations. You get a single solution built from the best of breed open source that's easy to deploy, easy to secure, easy to manage and upgrade on any infrastructure. And the any infrastructure piece here I think is really important. Most organizations I talk to are running Kubernetes on-prem. They are running Kubernetes on the cloud. And NKP is unique in that regard in that it runs on NCI, of course, but it also runs on any other infrastructure. It runs on bare metal. It runs on vSphere. It runs on your favorite public cloud VMs. And it integrates deeply with public cloud Kubernetes services like EKS and AKS. And by the way, the whole thing also works in dark sites, in air-gapped environments, where you have no internet connection. So truly anywhere, one platform to manage Kubernetes wherever you go. And the design philosophy behind NKP is, and how I think it's quite unique, is it's an open and complete platform. And I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be open and complete. So when we say open, we mean it's based on pure upstream open source components. This is really important, I think. So we don't take open source components and then modify them, sort of build the Nutanix version of it. We don't do that. We use what the open source projects release. And I think that's very important to be compatible with the whole ecosystem, cloud native, add-ons, or software from our partners. I've seen other vendors in the space kind of fork these things and then you lose compatibility. So really important, it's pure upstream open source. It also means everything is built around open source APIs, not proprietary Nutanix APIs. I mentioned CSI earlier, the container storage interface, right? Industry standard open source storage interface. The same goes for CNI, the container network interface. But maybe most important of all, the APIs that your applications are built against on NKP are also the open APIs. And so that way we make sure that your applications are portable between cloud and on-prem in any Kubernetes. Really, really critical if you want to stay portable. We also were one of the first adopters of a technology that's called Cluster API, another open source standard, CAPI for short. Cluster API is an API that allows Kubernetes to interface with the underlying infrastructure. So NCI, EC2, vSphere, EKS, AKS. And what it means is that you can have a non-vendor specific way to deploy Kubernetes on cloud or on-prem. So you're not using cloud provider tools to run on cloud and then other tools to run on-prem. You're using the same open source API, CAPI, to deploy your clusters. So that gives you a single workflow, no matter what the underlying infrastructure is. And another aspect of open is that those technologies you saw on the previous slide on that circle, they're opt-in, they're optional. So you can decide, well, maybe I want to use something different for observability, for instance. I don't want to use what's in NKP. It's open in that way. You can turn off these components and use something else. For example, a solution from our partners. So very modular and open in that way too. All right, that's open. Now let's talk about complete. Complete means a curated and open source stack that covers everything from day 0 to day 2. All the technologies we saw on the previous slide. It's ready to go to production from your first day. It's really focused on enterprise production use cases. We've actually been supporting large enterprises and government entities since the early days of our startup. So that's who we built this platform for.